Okay, the third part is called graphing. And you can graph these two equations, but remember, you also have to make sure that they have to be in that form of y equals mx plus b. Okay, so remember, they have to be in this form of y equals mx plus b. So be very careful of this. Well, you're lucky because these two lines are already in that form. So remember, okay, these two are already in that form. So we have to make sure that when we graph these, we got to be very careful. And I would really highly use some graph paper. I'm not going to use graph paper on here, but I just want to show you what the idea is and really review a little bit of graphing. So here we go. Okay? Just be very careful when you graph this because you got to make sure it looks accurate. So here's our two equations. Those are our two equations. We got to graph these. So remember how to graph them. Remember, we start with the b for beginning. So this doesn't have a b. B is 0. So we're going to start there. That's our B. I'm going to try to use two different colors on this so you don't get kind of mixed up. So let's do orange on this one and green on this one. So this starts at 0 and our slope is 3. Remember, 3 over 1. It's going in the positive direction. So we're going to go 1, 2, 3 over 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. And remember, you can also go down the other way. So you can go 1, 2, 3 over 1. Remember, you can go also down. And like I said, use some graph paper. This one, 0, 0. Negative 3 over 1 this time. So you're going to go 1, 2, 3, and negative 1. 1, 2, 3 over 1. Well, 1, 2, 3 over 1. That's why I highly do graph paper. But for clarity, you can see where they're going to meet anyway, right? At the origin. They meet at the origin. So your solution, 0, 0. So this reviews a little bit of graphing, but you're graphing two equations, not just one. Okay. This does take time, especially to draw the graph. This does take time. Okay, so let's try this one. So, first thing to do, make a little graph. Use graph paper. Now, make sure these are y equals mx plus b form, which they are. Y, slope, the b. So the first one, what do we do first? We graph the b. B. So this is 0, 0, 1. So 0 is a 1. What's the slope? 2 over 1. Remember, 2 over 1. So we're going to go up 2, 1, 2, over 1. Also go down. So we can go 1, 2, over 1. And if you want to, 1, 2, over 1 to kind of make a consistency. Kind of. Do a graph like that. Next one, our y is at -3, so this should be 0, -3. So 0, -3. What's our slope? Oops. 1 over 1. Remember there's a 1 in front. So we're going to go from our point, and we're going to go up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. Wow, that moved over a lot because it's not really equally things, so we just make the dot bigger. And then up 1, over 1. Oops. It helps to get some graph paper. So up 1, over 1, up 1, over 1. Now you can go down this way. So down 1, over 1. Down 1, over 1. And what happens if this line continues, these two lines should come in contact right here. So that's the point of intersection. This line is continuous, this line is continuous, but you see how they're kind of narrowing in? That's going to be your solution. That's why graphing, you have to have some graph paper for it. But there is another way that we could find this equation, find this point. And maybe some of you are picking it up, maybe not. Should I show it to you? It's not really graphing, but the whole point, you got to practice your graphing, and that's the same thing. But I do want to make this point. What if you're not too sure what that point is? So, you're not too sure what that point is. You're very unfair, not unfair, but unsure. Well, do you see something here? They're both solve for y. Oh. You see what I did? Since both of these are solved for y, I just substituted that for here, or substituted that for there. And now solve for x. Solve for y, or what's the original ones? This one. If you go back to the graph that we did on your paper, remember where they kind of almost looked like they were going to intersect? So real quick, kind of looked like they were going to intersect. So here's our graphs. Here's our graph that we did. They're going to intersect here. Look at that. That, if you look back on your graph, and we were kind of like unsure where they're going to intersect, well, they should intersect at -4, -7. And you can see that, -4, -7. So that was one way we can use substitution to help really define our answer. All right. You need practice graphing is really essential to make sure you understand how to graph y equals mx plus b. But the trick was to get where these two equations intersect. Okay, practice, practice. This is it. Okay, see you later.